Penned by the Roman poet Virgil or Publius Virgilius Maro in full, the Aeneid is a cornerstone of classical literature. Written in the late 1st century BCE, under the patronage of Emperor Augustus, this sweeping epic poem tells the mythic origin of Rome through the trials of its heroic ancestor, Aeneas. But this is not merely a tale of glory. It is a story of grief, of exile, of duty, and the long, quiet endurance of the human spirit. In this bedtime voyage, we will follow Aeneas from the smoking ruins of Troy to the fertile hills of Italy. Along the way, we'll explore lost cities, ancient rituals, tempests summoned by angry gods, and love that burns too brightly to last. We will see Rome not yet born, but already imagined flicker in the shadows of prophecy. Virgil writes in Latin, in dactylic hexameter, the epic meter used by Homer. But his voice is distinctly Roman. His poetry emerges from a nation that has survived civil war and now searches for identity, stability, and divine favor. Through Aeneas, Virgil offers a model for a new Roman pious, loyal, and shaped by suffering. But what makes the Aeneid endure is not merely its political purpose, it is its humanity. Aeneas is not invincible. He doubts. He mourns. He carries his aged father on his back, clutches his young son by the hand, and leaves behind everything he loves again and again for a future he cannot yet see. This is not just the story of a hero. It is the story of loss, of wandering, of starting over. The Aeneid speaks to all who have fled war, left home, or found themselves between worlds. In Aeneas, we find a mirror, a quiet strength shaped by sorrow. Let us now settle into the rhythm of the story. The year is roughly 30 BCE. Rome has just emerged from the ashes of its republic, reshaped under the singular vision of Augustus. Virgil, once a quiet poet of the countryside, is commissioned to write Rome's great national epic. He spends a decade crafting the Aeneid, a tapestry of myth, memory, and prophecy. And though he dies before completing final revisions, the poem is preserved, revered, and eventually memorized by generations of scholars, priests, and rulers. For centuries, schoolboys copied its lines in wax tablets. Emperors quoted it. Monks preserved it. Dante carried it into the Divine Comedy. Tonight, we carry it gently into your dreams. You need no prior knowledge of Latin or Roman history. All you need is a quiet heart and a willingness to drift through words like waves. Together, we will explore each part of this timeless tale, each chapter softly unfolding like a scroll in the flickering lamplight. Here is how our journey will unfold. In Chapter 1, we'll begin with the fall of Troy, and Aeneas's perilous escape, a world ending, a people uprooted. In Chapter 2, we sail through storm and seduction as Aeneas lands in Carthage and meets the doomed Queen Dido. In Chapter 3, we follow him into the underworld, a descent through memory and myth, where the future of Rome is revealed. In Chapter 4, we explore the wars of Italy, the clash between Aeneas and the native peoples, and the forging of a new homeland. In Chapter 5, we reflect on the poem's themes: fate and free will, piety and pain, empire and exile. And finally, in Chapter 6, we examine the Aeneid's enduring legacy in literature, politics, and the human imagination. As we drift through these moments, you'll hear the names of ancient gods, feel the sea winds of the Mediterranean, step into temples, palaces, and forests, and watch empires rise in the mind before they rise in stone. Each image will come softly, never with clamor, always with care. This is history not as a lecture, but as a lullaby, a guided dream, a gentle voyage through time and meaning. Let the world of Virgil cradle you. In its verses you may find comfort, wonder, and perhaps a quiet sense of connection to those who came before. Close your eyes. We begin not with Rome, but with ruin. The story begins, not in triumph, but in ashes. Troy, once a proud city of high walls and golden halls, now burns. The night is pierced by cries, the air thick with smoke and sorrow, and amid the chaos, a man awakens. Aeneas, son of Anchises and the goddess Venus, stirs from uneasy sleep. A warrior, a nobleman, a father, and soon a refugee. The Greek armies have breached the city. Troy is falling. Let us pause for a moment to understand where we are. The Trojan War, made famous by Homer's Iliad, has raged for 10 long years. The Greeks, unable to take the city by force, devise a trick, the infamous wooden horse. Left as a gift, it conceals armed men inside. The Trojans, weary and deceived, bring it within their walls. And now, at night, the Greeks emerge. They set the city ablaze. They open the gates, and soon the streets run red. Aeneas, alerted by a vision of the ghostly Hector, dons his armor. But this is not a battle to be won. This is survival. He gathers a small band of fighters. They attempt to resist, but even the gods are against them. Athena supports the Greeks. Troy's fate is sealed. As dawn creeps over the smoldering city, Aeneas must make a choice. He wishes to die fighting, but is stopped by an omen. Flames appear around the head of his young son, Aeneas, but they do not burn him. Then a star streaks across the sky. These are signs. He must live. He gathers his family. His father Anchises, old and reluctant, carries with him the sacred household gods, the Penates. Aeneas lifts Anchises upon his shoulders. With one hand, he clasps the child Ascanius. His wife Creusa follows behind, but in the chaos, Creusa is lost. He searches desperately, calling her name through the ruins. At last, her ghost appears. She tells him to go. His destiny lies elsewhere in a distant land across the sea. And so, as Troy crumbles, a small group slips away, a father, a son, a few loyal followers. They leave behind their home, their past, their dead. They become exiles. For years they will wander. The gods will test them, the winds will toss them, and not all will survive. But from this moment of ruin, the seeds of Rome are sown. We now drift with them, across the Aegean Sea, to the coast of Thrace. Aeneas attempts to found a city there, but the land rejects him. Blood wells from the ground when they try to dig foundations. A ghost warns them to flee. They sail again, arriving at the island of Delos, where the god Apollo speaks. He tells Aeneas to seek the land of his ancestors, the ancient mother. The Trojans interpret this as Crete and set sail, but there a plague strikes. Again they are told, this is not the promised land. Finally, through dreams and oracles, they understand the true homeland is Italy, known in myth as Hesperia, the western land bathed in golden light. Italy is their fate. They continue, passing by many islands. On Strophades, they encounter the Harpies' foul bird women who curse them with hunger and prophecy. On Actium, they hold games and rituals, a brief moment of peace. On Bothrotum, they meet Helenus, a Trojan seer, who gives them guidance and a grave warning. Avoid the straits of Scylla and Charybdis. And still they sail. Storms batter their ships. They pass by Mount Etna, where the one-eyed Cyclopes roam. On the shore, they meet a Greek left behind by Odysseus, who begs them to take him aboard. Through these episodes, we begin to see a pattern. The journey is not linear. It is shaped by omens, dreams, and the whims of the gods. Aeneas is not just a leader, he is a listener. He watches for signs. He heeds the divine. This quality, known in Latin as pietas, is central to his character. It means not only piety, but duty to the gods, to family, and to fate. In this, Aeneas differs from heroes like Achilles or Odysseus. He is not driven by rage or cunning. He is driven by purpose. But that purpose is heavy. He sacrifices much. His homeland is gone. His beloved wife is lost. He must wander without rest, always seeking, always waiting for the promised land to open before him. Now we reach one of the most beautiful and tragic episodes of the Aeneid. Aeneas arrives on the shores of Carthage, in North Africa. There, Queen Dido has founded a thriving city. She is strong, wise, and recently widowed. The gods intervene again. Juno, queen of the gods and enemy of Troy, sees an opportunity. She schemes with Venus, Aeneas's mother, to make Dido fall in love with him, hoping this might delay or derail his destiny. And it works. Dido welcomes Aeneas with warmth and wonder. She asks him to tell his story, and for a few nights, we are treated to a story within a story. The tale of Troy, of exile, of storms and monsters. Aeneas becomes both hero and bard. As they linger, love blooms. Aeneas and Dido retreat together during a thunderstorm, a union that she sees as marriage, though no vows are exchanged. She begins to dream of a shared future. But fate is not so gentle. Jupiter sends Mercury to remind Aeneas of his mission. His son's future and Rome's must not be delayed. The call of destiny is louder than the call of love. Aeneas prepares to leave. Dido is devastated. She confronts him, pleads, accuses, mourns, but Aeneas, though grieving, remains steadfast. He sails away in silence. As the Trojan ships vanish on the horizon, Dido climbs a funeral pyre. She curses Aeneas, stabs herself with his sword, and falls upon the flames. Her curse that eternal hatred would fester between her people, and his foreshadows the future conflict between Carthage and Rome. The chapter closes in sorrow. Aeneas has kept to his course, but at great cost. Let us pause here, with the ships once more at sea. The stars glimmer overhead, the waves rock gently, the wind whispers of trials still to come. We have left Troy, we have fled monsters, we have lost love. And yet, the journey continues. Aeneas does not know it yet, but Italy lies ahead. His people, scattered and tired, still hope. And the gods, even in their cruelty, begin to clear the path. Rest now, as we drift across the wine-dark sea. The hardest storms may be behind us, but deeper trials wait below. After parting from the broken heart of Dido and the shores of Carthage, Aeneas continues his journey across the Mediterranean. His ship cuts through the sea like a silver arrow under a brooding sky, and the waves seem calmer now, yet still charged with unspoken weight. The Trojans land at Cumae, on the western coast of Italy. Here rises a sacred site, the shrine of Apollo, god of prophecy. Carved into the cliffside, it is both temple and gateway, watched over by the ancient Sibyl of Cumae, a prophetess who holds the secrets of the underworld. Aeneas climbs the rocky slope to meet her. He comes not only as a wanderer, but as a seeker of meaning. For his journey has brought him to the threshold of fate, and to fully understand it, he must look beyond the veil of life. The Sibyl greets him with solemn eyes. She foresees both suffering and glory, but before revealing more, she demands a sacred offering. The golden bough, a mystical branch that allows safe passage through the underworld. It must be found and offered to Proserpina, queen of the dead. Aeneas ventures into the forest. With guidance from doves sacred to his mother, Venus, he discovers the golden bough shining amid a grove of ancient trees. He returns to the Sibyl, and together they descend into the underworld. Let us pause here. In classical literature, journeys into the realm of the dead are rare and powerful. They signify not just contact with the past, but a confrontation with destiny. This descent, or catabasis, is a central turning point both in myth and in the soul of Aeneas. Through a shadowed cave, they pass into the land below. The path winds downward, through black rock and sulphurous air. Soon, they reach the river Acheron, and the boatman Charon, grizzled, silent, and stern, rows them across. The waters ripple with the cries of the unburied dead, souls who cannot find rest. Aeneas offers the golden bough and the gate opens. They move deeper. Here he sees familiar faces, the souls of warriors, shades of those who died in Troy. Among them is Palinurus, Aeneas's helmsman, lost at sea. He begs for a proper burial, a reminder that even in epic tales, small human griefs linger. Then comes a moment of heartbreak. In the fields of mourning, Aeneas sees Dido. Her spirit turns away. She offers no words, no gaze, just silence. Aeneas tries to speak, to explain, to apologize, but she vanishes into the mist, returning to the shade of her first husband, Sychaeus. Loss upon loss. And yet, he continues. The Sibyl guides him toward the inner regions, past rivers of fire, past the fortress of the damned. He glimpses the torments of the wicked, traitors, tyrants, the unfilial, each punished in grotesque and fitting ways. But Aeneas's path lies elsewhere toward the Elysian fields. This is the realm of the blessed dead. Golden meadows, soft breezes, eternal twilight. Here he finds Anchises, his father now radiant and calm in the afterlife. Their reunion is quiet and moving. No battle, no tempest, just the embrace of father and son, echoing with all the love unspoken in life. Anchises has waited for this. He shows Aeneas a vision of Rome's future. This is the centerpiece of Book 6, a prophecy that unfolds not just Aeneas's destiny, but the entire arc of Roman greatness. Aeneas sees unborn souls, the founders of Rome, her kings, her generals. Among them are Romulus, who will build the city, Numa, who will guide its laws, and finally, Augustus Caesar, the ruler of Virgil's own time, destined to bring peace to the world. It is no ordinary vision, it is a blueprint of history, framed in myth. Anchises speaks of Pax Romana, the peace that Rome will offer to the world. He describes Roman duty as not merely conquering, but to spare the conquered and subdue the proud. This is Roman identity, painted in the language of fate, and then something deeply human. Aeneas sees a young soul standing apart, cloaked in sorrow. It is Marcellus, the nephew of Augustus, who died young. A nation's hopes once rested on him. Anchises mourns his early loss. Even in triumph, grief shadows greatness. Finally, Anchises leads Aeneas to the Gate of Ivory, through which souls return to the world of the living. The Sibyl and Aeneas rise once more into daylight. He returns changed. This journey into the underworld has given him not only knowledge, but calm. He now sees his burdens in context. His personal losses. Dido, Troy, even his father are threads in a tapestry far greater than himself. He is no longer merely a refugee, he is the bearer of empire. Now let us gently drift upward with him from shadow to light, from sorrow to purpose. The sea air greets us once again, the sails fill with wind. The crew, unaware of the visions below, prepare for the next phase of the voyage. Aeneas carries with him more than prophecy. He carries memory, weight, hope. And as he looks to the horizon, he knows that Italy is no longer a dream, it is a nearing shore. Let your thoughts settle now, like leaves on still water. The underworld has taught us that the past speaks, the future calls, and the present, though uncertain, is sacred. We continue soon, into the lands of Italy, where Aeneas must face resistance, forge alliances, and prove once and for all that destiny is not inherited, it is earned. As we step ashore in Libya, the golden light of early morning bathes the coast in a warm glow. Aeneas and his companions find themselves in a land of progress and ambition. The scent of fresh mortar fills the air. Bees hum through the columns of half-built homes. And above it all rises the heart of a young city, Carthage. Founded by Queen Dido, a noble exile from Tyre in Phoenicia, Carthage is alive with energy. Marble temples gleam in the sun. Workers lay roads with precise care. Ships dock and unload amphorae of oil, wine, and grain. It is a place on the cusp of greatness, not unlike the vision Aeneas holds for his own people. Dido herself is regal and dignified, a woman forged by sorrow, yet unbroken. She fled her homeland after her brother murdered her husband, Sychaeus. In the wilderness, she carved out a new life. Aeneas, too, is an exile, and in that shared experience, a bond begins to form. At first, he approaches in disguise, cautious and uncertain. Venus, ever the guardian of her son, wraps him in a mist, concealing his identity as he enters the city. He marvels at Carthage, its rising towers, its busy markets, its shining bronze gates. Soon he makes himself known, and Dido receives him with grace. She listens to his tale, and he recounts all that has passed: the fall of Troy, the burning of his home, the wandering across the sea. His words are soft, but his sorrow is vast. Dido, moved to tears, offers him shelter. Banquets follow, and with them, music and laughter. The dark clouds that had followed Aeneas begin to lift. Days pass, then weeks. A warm comfort blooms between them, one that soon becomes love. But the gods are watching. Juno sees an opportunity. If Dido and Aeneas wed, perhaps he will stay in Carthage and never reach Italy. To further this, she orchestrates a scene. As Aeneas and Dido hunt in the forest, a sudden storm breaks overhead. The lovers take refuge in a cave. There, in the half-light and thunder, their union is sealed. But not all see this as a marriage. Dido believes herself bound to him. Aeneas, bound by fate, hesitates. And then, Mercury arrives. The messenger god, swift as the wind, descends with a warning from Jupiter. Why do you delay? You are not meant to build Carthage. Your destiny lies in Italy. Aeneas is shaken. Torn between duty and desire, he makes a choice. He will leave. But he says nothing at first. He orders the ships to be readied in secret. The sails are repaired. The men prepare provisions. But word reaches Dido, and she confronts him beneath the stars, her voice trembling with pain and fury. Was it for this you came? Will you abandon me as you abandoned Troy? Aeneas, wounded too, replies, I never promised marriage. I am commanded by the gods. My duty lies elsewhere. It is a quiet, devastating moment. He does not deny his affection, but fate has no room for love. At dawn, the ships slip from the harbor. Dido watches from the cliffs above. Her heart breaks. She builds a funeral pyre, calling down curses upon Aeneas and his descendants. Then, in sorrow and flame, she ends her life. As Aeneas sails away, he sees the smoke rising behind him. His heart is heavy. He has lost something precious, something human, but he does not turn back. Dido's death leaves a wound that will echo through history. Virgil presents it not just as personal tragedy, but as mythic origin. The bitterness between Rome and Carthage, a rivalry that would one day lead to the Punic Wars, begins not with soldiers, but with a broken heart. Yet here, let us pause. The story of Dido is more than a political myth. It is a meditation on love, on grief, on the cost of destiny. Dido is no mere obstacle. She is a queen, a builder, a symbol of what might have been. In her city's rising walls and ordered streets, we see another possible future, one Aeneas must leave behind. Tonight, as you drift further into sleep, picture the harbor of Carthage. The waves are still. Lanterns flicker along the docks. In the palace, Dido's voice lingers in the silence, soft as wind. And far away, Aeneas looks toward the west, his eyes fixed not on what he has lost, but on the land yet to be found. As we step ashore in Libya, the golden light of early morning bathes the coast in a warm glow. Aeneas and his companions find themselves in a land of progress and ambition. The scent of fresh mortar fills the air. Bees hum through the columns of half-built homes. And above it all rises the heart of a young city, Carthage. Founded by Queen Dido, a noble exile from Tyre in Phoenicia, Carthage is alive with energy. Marble temples gleam in the sun. Workers lay roads with precise care. Ships dock and unload amphorae of oil, wine, and grain. It is a place on the cusp of greatness, not unlike the vision Aeneas holds for his own people. Dido herself is regal and dignified, a woman forged by sorrow, yet unbroken. She fled her homeland after her brother murdered her husband, Sychaeus. In the wilderness, she carved out a new life. Aeneas, too, is an exile, and in that shared experience, a bond begins to form. At first, he approaches in disguise, cautious and uncertain. Venus, ever the guardian of her son, wraps him in a mist, concealing his identity as he enters the city. He marvels at Carthage, its rising towers, its busy markets, its shining bronze gates. Soon he makes himself known, and Dido receives him with grace. She listens to his tale, and he recounts all that has passed: the fall of Troy, the burning of his home, the wandering across the sea. His words are soft, but his sorrow is vast. Dido, moved to tears, offers him shelter. Banquets follow, and with them music and laughter. The dark clouds that had followed Aeneas begin to lift. Days pass, then weeks. A warm comfort blooms between them, one that soon becomes love. But the gods are watching. Juno sees an opportunity. If Dido and Aeneas wed, perhaps he will stay in Carthage and never reach Italy. To further this, she orchestrates a scene. As Aeneas and Dido hunt in the forest, a sudden storm breaks overhead. The lovers take refuge in a cave. There, in the half-light and thunder, their union is sealed. But not all see this as a marriage. Dido believes herself bound to him. Aeneas, bound by fate, hesitates. And then Mercury arrives. The messenger god, swift as the wind, descends with a warning from Jupiter. Why do you delay? You are not meant to build Carthage. Your destiny lies in Italy. Aeneas is shaken. Torn between duty and desire, he makes a choice. He will leave. But he says nothing at first. He orders the ships to be readied in secret. The sails are repaired. The men prepare provisions. But word reaches Dido, and she confronts him beneath the stars, her voice trembling with pain and fury. Was it for this you came? Will you abandon me as you abandoned Troy? Aeneas, wounded too, replies, I never promised marriage. I am commanded by the gods. My duty lies elsewhere. It is a quiet, devastating moment. He does not deny his affection, but fate has no room for love. At dawn, the ships slip from the harbor. Dido watches from the cliffs above. Her heart breaks. She builds a funeral pyre, calling down curses upon Aeneas and his descendants. Then, in sorrow and flame, she ends her life. As Aeneas sails away, he sees the smoke rising behind him. His heart is heavy. He has lost something precious, something human. But he does not turn back. Dido's death leaves a wound that will echo through history. Virgil presents it not just as personal tragedy, but as mythic origin. The bitterness between Rome and Carthage, a rivalry that would one day lead to the Punic Wars, begins not with soldiers, but with a broken heart. Yet here, let us pause. The story of Dido is more than a political myth. It is a meditation on love, on grief, on the cost of destiny. Dido is no mere obstacle. She is a queen, a builder, a symbol of what might have been. In her city's rising walls and ordered streets, we see another possible future, one Aeneas must leave behind. Tonight, as you drift further into sleep, picture the harbor of Carthage. The waves are still. Lanterns flicker along the docks. In the palace, Dido's voice lingers in the silence, soft as wind. And far away, Aeneas looks toward the west, his eyes fixed not on what he has lost, but on the land yet to be found. Aeneas now stands on Italian soil, in the region known as Latium, where rivers wind through broad plains and oak forests hum with the voices of hidden spirits. The air is heavy with history, though the future is yet unwritten. The gods have led him here, and yet peace will not come gently. Latium is ruled by King Latinus, an aged monarch of noble descent. Latinus has a daughter, Lavinia, and a prophecy that she will marry a foreigner, one who will bring greatness to their land. When Aeneas arrives, weary but determined, Latinus sees in him the stranger of fate. At first, welcome. Latinus offers peace. He offers Lavinia's hand. But not all agree. There is another suitor, Turnus, prince of the Rutulians, brave and proud, and deeply connected to Lavinia's people. He sees Aeneas not as a savior, but as an invader. And Juno, ever the enemy of the Trojans, seizes upon this anger. She stirs Turnus's heart with jealousy and pride. War brews like a storm over the hills. Aeneas, for his part, seeks alliance. He journeys north to the Arcadian king Evander, who dwells in modest splendor near what will one day be Rome. Evander, old and wise, remembers Troy with reverence. He offers his son Pallas to join Aeneas in battle. Pallas is young, noble, and full of hope. He becomes like a son to Aeneas. Together they ride south again, raising troops and forging bonds. The great shield of Aeneas, forged by Vulcan, god of fire, at Venus's request bears images of future Rome, Romulus and Remus, Caesar, and the battles to come. It is a shield not of the present, but of destiny. The war begins. Turnus rallies his allies, warriors from all corners of Italy, including the fierce Camilla, a maiden warrior swift as the wind. She rides with spears in both hands, a blur on the battlefield, beloved by her people. Even the gods watch with admiration. Clashes erupt in fields and forests. Blood soaks the soil of Latium. Aeneas fights with valor, seeking not conquest, but survival. He dreams still of peace, of building something greater. But tragedy stalks the land. In the chaos of battle, young Pallas is slain by Turnus. The news reaches Aeneas like a blow to the heart. Grief hardens into fury. He becomes more than a warrior, he becomes the arm of fate. He cuts down enemies not out of hatred, but with solemn resolve. No longer can he be the reluctant hero. The future demands strength. Meanwhile, Camilla leads a cavalry charge through the plains, her hair braided with bronze, her arrows swift and fatal. She fells warrior after warrior until, distracted by pursuit, she is struck down by a spear. Her fall is mourned, even the gods are silent. Now, the final duel draws near. Turnus and Aeneas agree to meet in single combat to end the bloodshed. But fate is never so simple. A skirmish breaks out. Aeneas is wounded, but healed by divine aid. Turnus fights fiercely, but his army falters. He retreats. And then, the final moment. Aeneas confronts Turnus. Their duel is fierce and skillful. At last, Aeneas gains the upper hand. He stands over his rival, sword raised. Turnus, defeated, begs for mercy. Aeneas hesitates. He sees Turnus not as an enemy, but as a man fallen, desperate, afraid. His arm slackens. Then he sees Pallas's belt, taken by Turnus as a trophy. Aeneas is overcome. Grief surges through him like flame. He strikes. Turnus falls. It is a haunting ending not of triumph, but of solemn necessity. There is no celebration, only silence. Virgil does not show us what happens next. We do not see the founding of Lavinium, the marriage to Lavinia, or the birth of the future Roman line. The Aeneid ends here on the edge of a sword, in the stillness of a battlefield. And yet, the future is implicit. From Aeneas and Lavinia will come the kings of Alba Longa, and from them Romulus, founder of Rome. The line will stretch forward through centuries, through republic, empire, and decline, carrying with it the spirit of this moment. The wars of Italy are not merely a story of conquest. They are a meditation on the cost of destiny. Aeneas must sacrifice peace, love, and mercy, even his own innocence, to fulfill a divine command. He does not conquer to rule, but to build a future he will never fully know. As you drift further into rest, consider the quiet after battle. The wind in the grass, the broken spears, the rising sun over the fields of Latium. Aeneas stands among the fallen, his breath heavy, his heart full. The gods are silent, but the world turns. And in that turning lies the seed of something eternal. The battlefield is quiet now. In the golden light of early morning, the fields of Latium lie still not in peace, but in the soft pause that follows struggle. Aeneas stands among the echoes of war, his sword now sheathed, the final cries of conflict faded into wind. Though Virgil ends the Aeneid with Turnus' death, the story does not truly end. It carries on in legend, in lineage, in the very stones of Rome. Aeneas, having fulfilled the god's command, becomes more than a man. He becomes a memory. He marries Lavinia, daughter of King Latinus, and together they found the city of Lavinium, named for her. From this union, a line of kings begins stretching from Ascanius, Aeneas' son, through generations yet unborn. Ascanius, also called Iulus, will go on to found Alba Longa, a city nestled among the Alban hills. There, for centuries, his descendants rule, and from that line, in time, will come a woman named Rhea Silvia and her twin sons, Romulus and Remus. These are the names of myth and marble, of empire and eternity. Romulus, suckled by the she-wolf, will found Rome upon the Palatine Hill. He will draw its first walls, summon its first citizens, and give it the name that would echo across the world. The Romans, fierce, disciplined, lovers of law and order, will trace their lineage not just to Romulus, but to Aeneas. He is their pater, their father, their sacred ancestor. But the legacy of Aeneas is not simply about kings or bloodlines. It is about pietas, the Roman ideal of devotion to family, gods, and country. Aeneas embodies this virtue above all else. He does not seek personal glory. He carries the burdens of destiny with grace. He grieves, but does not falter. He builds, not for himself, but for those who will come after. In this way, Virgil offers a model for Roman identity. When he composed the Aeneid in the age of Augustus Caesar, Rome had just emerged from decades of civil war. It was a nation in need of unity, of purpose, of roots. Through Aeneas, Virgil gave the Roman people a past that was noble, tragic, and sacred. He gave their empire divine sanction, linking Augustus himself to the gods. And so the poem became more than literature. It became foundation. Statues of Aeneas were erected in forums. His story was taught to children. His name became a whisper in ceremonies, a symbol of Rome's right to rule. But even beyond empire, the tale of Aeneas endured as myth, as metaphor, as meditation. Through the centuries, as Rome grew and changed, as emperors rose and fell, as temples became churches and aqueducts turned to ruins, Aeneas remained. His face was carved into stone. His name was copied in ink across fragile manuscripts, carried through the monasteries of Europe and into the minds of Renaissance poets. In time, the Aeneid became part of the great chain of Western literature. It inspired Dante in his Divine Comedy. It echoed in Milton's Paradise Lost. It shaped the imagination of statesmen and scholars who saw in Aeneas not just a Trojan exile, but a figure of endurance, sacrifice, and creation. But perhaps the true legacy of Aeneas lies not in palaces or politics, but in his humanity. He is a man who loses his home, his wife, and his peace, but who keeps going. He is a father who carries his child and his father from the flames. He is a stranger in foreign lands, offering olive branches instead of weapons. He is torn between love and duty, between sorrow and resolve. In Aeneas, we find a reflection of our own wanderings, the ways we search for meaning, for belonging, for home. His journey, though marked by gods and omens, is also deeply human. As your breath grows slower now, and sleep draws closer, picture once more the final image of Aeneas, standing on a hillside beneath the Italian sun. His armor is worn. His eyes carry the weight of years. But beside him are his people building, planting, teaching. Around them rise the first stones of something new. Aeneas does not live to see Rome. He does not see the Forum, the Senate, the poets and philosophers, the arches and roads and distant provinces. He does not hear Latin sung in distant cathedrals or see his story copied on illuminated parchment centuries later. But he begins it, and in beginning, he gives us this gift, the idea that from ruin can come renewal, that from exile can come empire, that even in loss, there is the possibility of something lasting, something greater than ourselves. So let the story settle gently into your dreams. Let the ships drift once more along the Mediterranean. Let the ghost of Troy fade into the stars. Let Aeneas walk softly toward the horizon. For though his tale has ended, the journey never truly ends.